Hello YouTube, Chris here. Doing a video on every chain checker Park Tool has ever made. Comparison, demonstration, and explanation. Going to go through all the different chain checkers that they make and how they work, as well as talk a little bit about chain wear and why we need a chain checker. Please feel free to comment below if you have any questions, concerns, or if I got anything wrong. And if you like this video and want to see more like it, please subscribe. So before we get started with the actual chain checkers, I want to take a minute and just review why we actually need to check our chain and how a chain wears out. What you're seeing in front of you here is a breakdown of an exploded chain. So this is all the pieces that go into a chain. I've got a full chain right up here, and then as we go, we've got the pins, outer plates, inner plate, roller, inner plate, outer plate. So this pin would go through all these pieces, connecting them. A lot of people like to call it chain stretch, which I don't actually like that term. I don't think it's correct or specific enough. It's not really chain stretch, it's chain wear. And the reason it's chain wear is over time when you're using your bicycle and the chain is getting a lot of miles on it, grit and grime and just metal on metal wear happens in these rollers here, where they contact the inner plates inside the rollers between the pins. So this is actually what's wearing. So you're not stretching. This steel plate on the outside and the steel plate on the inside are not actually getting longer. What's happening is this little ring is wearing and causing the chain to have play in it because it moves side to side as opposed to a nice tight new chain. Here you can see two chains, and these are the chains I'm going to use to demonstrate the chain checkers. But I want to show you this first one on the outside here is actually a brand new chain. This one closer to the camera is a very used chain. And what I want to try to demonstrate is that these rollers, if poked, should be nice and tight. They shouldn't have a lot of play. If you tap on the chain, it shouldn't have a lot of noise. But let's look at our used chain here, and you can actually should be able to see how much movement you have in these rollers side to side. And if you tap on the chain, you hear that real metallic jingling metal on metal noise. Now one, that's because there's not enough lubrication on the chain, but number two, that's the amount of play in between the rollers and the plates and the pins and everything. Okay, so first we're going to go with the Park Tool CC1 chain checker. This is an older tool, no longer available. It's got a aluminum bar with two pins on it, one of them just fixed in the aluminum, the other one attached to this wheel here. This wheel also has numbers on it. So basically the way this works, you start on 0, twist the wheel, and if you get to the point where it's in the red, that's when you know your chain is no good. Let's go ahead and try it out here on some chains. The first one here is going to be a brand new chain. We're going to slip the tool down into the chain, both pins, while on 0. We're going to rotate this and see that we're still within the tolerances, which you would expect as this is a new chain. Next, we're going to move this over to a very used chain and do the same thing. And here you can see this chain is worn out as we are well into the red on this one. And here is our Park Tool CC-2 chain checker. This tool works very similar to the CC1 in that you have an aluminum bar with two pins. Instead of a rotating wheel, you have this little moving piece here that basically goes from 0 to 1. If we look at the instructions here, it says a new chain should fall between 0.25 and 0.5, and we should replace if we're greater than or equal to 1. So basically you have to move this all the way over, and that tells you your chain's no good. Let's go ahead and try it out. First, on our brand new chain, this one's a little harder to read. It's coming up at about right between 0.25 and 0.5. If we move that over now, to our used chain, all the way to 1. So this is a well worn out chain. I want to talk briefly about the Park Tool CC-3, which was eventually replaced by the Park Tool CC-3.2. The tools are pretty much the same in look, shape, and function. The only real difference is how they measure, where the Park Tool CC-3 measures 0.75 or 1.0, and the Park Tool CC-3.2 measures 0.5 and 0.75, so it's a little bit more exact when a chain isn't fully worn out. And here we have the Park Tool CC-3.2. I don't have the Park Tool CC-3, and I don't think we really need it, considering it's basically the same tool, just with different measurements on it. This guy here has two different sides. It has a 0.5 side and a 0.75 side. A little simpler than the other two tools. What you do with this guy, you start with the 0.5 side, and we're going to start on our new chain here. We're going to link one side in and drop this here. If this falls down into the chain, then we know it's 0.5, and then we would flip it and try our 0.75 side to know if it's totally worn out. You'd replace if it's past 0.75. Obviously this is a new chain, so it's not falling in, so we're all good. Let's go to our used chain here. We'll start with the 0.5 side. Obviously drops right in, and our 0.75 side also falls into the chain, so we know this chain needs to be replaced. Next up, brand new from Park Tool, the Park Tool CC-4. I've already cut this open here, so let's go ahead and take this out of the packaging. This is a little bigger chain tool than what we're used to. Just for comparison, this is the Park Tool CC-3.2, and it's much longer. Now they've changed this a little bit here. You can see the directions on here. What you're supposed to do is put the little hook part in first, pinch down in the chain, and then this other end will either drop in or not drop in. OK meaning not dropping in, 0.5 slightly dropping in, and 0.75 all the way in. I think the reason they revised this from the 3.2 is to take all the tension out of the chain by pinching down on it. So let's go ahead and demonstrate this. On our new chain, we're going to put our hook in first. We're going to pinch down on the chain and see where that falls, and obviously it does not drop in. If we move over to our used chain, pinch down, and you'll see that this does drop in to the chain. So here we have all 4 chain checkers side by side, CC1, CC2, CC3.2, and CC4. Just want to do a little bit of a wrap up here and talk about my personal opinion as far as which one I like the most. Obviously everyone has their own opinion with tools and likes some certain things, but let's go through these each and talk about which one I prefer and which one I think is best. These do have different uses. So the CC1 and CC2 I think are a little bit more accurate in that you can see exactly where your chain is. It's not just a matter of does it fit or does it not fit, is it worn out or is it not worn out. So I do prefer that style where you have the pin and a little dial to show you where you're at. So if you want the most exact, in my opinion, the CC1 is the best tool. CC2 is very similar, it's just harder to read and doesn't have as many measurements on it, but still a good tool. As far as the other style, your CC3.2 and your CC4, I do still like these tools. Personally, I think the CC3.2 is a better tool. Now, the reason I like this tool is this is a quick, easy tool to use. So if I'm at the shop and I got somebody with a chain that may or may not be worn out, real quick just to throw it in the chain and know right away this is a good chain or a bad chain. You don't have to make sure the pins are in there like on the other two. You don't have to dial it and get an exact measurement. It's just, is this a good chain or a bad chain? The one I actually like the least is the brand new one, the CC4. Really big and takes up a lot of chain to use. I mean, you really got to manipulate it a little bit to get it in the right spot. Not a huge fan of it. Still a great tool and still will do the job. Any of these will. But I prefer the 3.2 over the CC4 for sure. So if I had to go in order of my favorites, my favorite one would be CC1, second CC3.2, third CC2, and fourth CC4. Well guys, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Please feel free to subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. I'll be doing more reviews and comparisons in the future. And please feel free to comment if there's anything you have questions about or anything I did wrong or missed about this video. Please let me know.